You just lost $200 at the pump last month. But that's not the bad news. The real loss is sitting inside your engine right now, getting ready to cost you $8,700 in repairs. If your Chevy Silverado 1500 is suddenly drinking gas like a V10 from the 90s, you are not unlucky. You are blind to a mechanical time bomb. And most dealerships will never tell you this. Let me paint a picture for you. It's Tuesday morning. You fill up your 24-gallon tank. 95. 3 days later, the light is back on. You did the math. You went from 18 miles per gallon down to 12. At first, you blamed the winter gas blend or your driving habits. But here's the truth. A 30% drop in fuel economy on a modern Silverado is never normal. And this is where most owners get trapped. They change the air filter. They buy fuel injector cleaner. They waste $200 on tune-ups that fix nothing. Wait, it gets worse. That extra fuel isn't just vanishing. It is washing down your cylinder walls. Every time you burn rich, raw gasoline dilutes your engine oil. Thin oil doesn't lubricate. And when your lifters lose lubrication on a 5.3-liter or 6.2-liter Ecotec 3, you get the death rattle. That's a $6,500 camshaft and lifter job. But here's the scary part. GM designed these engines to run lean at cruising speed. So if you're burning more fuel, something is actively lying to your computer. And almost nobody catches this in time. Stop guessing. Let me show you the real math. The average Silverado 1500 owner drives 15,000 miles per year. At 18 mpg, you buy 833 gallons. At 350 per gallon, 2,050 hours per year. At 12 mpg, you buy 1,250 gallons. That's 43.75 per year. You just lost 460 every single year. But that is just the fuel. Add towing when it leaves you stranded, $250. Add rental truck for a week, $400. Add lost work because you couldn't haul your trailer, priceless to your boss. This next part is what destroys engines completely. Most YouTube mechanics will tell you to check your oxygen sensors, or your mass airflow sensor, or they'll say it's probably a vacuum leak. Those are symptoms, not the cause. On the Chevy Silverado 1500, specifically the 2014 to 2019 models, and even some 2020 to 2022 refresh trucks, there is one component that fails silently. It does not trigger a check engine light until it is too late. And when it fails, your truck dumps fuel like a broken fire hydrant. I'm talking about the high-pressure fuel pressure sensor. But wait, there's a specific failure mode GM issued a silent bulletin for. Here is what happens inside your engine. Your Silverado uses direct injection. That means fuel is sprayed directly into the cylinder at 2,000 psi. The fuel pressure sensor tells the computer exactly how much pressure is in the rail. When that sensor drifts out of calibration, the computer panics. It thinks pressure is too low, so it commands the high-pressure fuel pump to run at maximum duty cycle. Now you're injecting 40% more fuel than the engine can burn. The unburned fuel washes past the piston rings. It contaminates the oil. It clogs the catalytic converters. And here's the kicker. You will not get a check engine light until the sensor completely fails. Drifting? No light. Just 12 mpg. And this is where the $8,000 mistake happens. You take your truck to the dealership. They plug in the scanner. No codes. It cannot duplicate concern. That is the most expensive sentence in automotive repair. So they start throwing parts at your money. Let's try spark plugs. $400. Maybe it needs an induction service. $250. Could be the fuel injectors. $800. None of it works. 3 weeks later, your check engine light finally flashes. PO300, random misfire. Now the catalytic converter is melted. That's $2,200. Now the oil is full of fuel. That's worn rod bearings. Another $3,000. And you are standing there with a repair bill that exceeds the value of a 2015 Silverado. But here's the scary part. You could have fixed this for $85. I want you to remember this number. $85. That is the cost of an OEM AC Delco fuel pressure sensor. Part number 1358345 for most models, and a 22mm deep socket. That is it. But you have to know the test first, because replacing parts randomly is gambling with your engine. Here is how real mechanics diagnose this on a Tuesday morning. You need a scan tool that reads live data, not a $20 code reader, a real one, or a $20 Bluetooth dongle in the Torque app. You will look at 2 PIDs, fuel rail pressure actual and fuel rail pressure desired. At idle warm engine, desired pressure should be around 4,500 psi. Actual should match within 200 psi. If actual is 500 psi lower than desired, your sensor is lying. But wait, there is a second test that catches 90% of failures. Turn off the engine. Let it sit for 10 minutes. Turn the key on. Do not start the engine. Just prime the fuel system. Watch the fuel rail pressure reading. A healthy sensor will show a slow bleed down over minutes. A failing sensor will show zero pressure immediately, or it will show a number that jumps around wildly. Why? Because the sensor has internal corrosion. GM placed it directly on the fuel rail, right above the hot valley of the engine. Heat cycles crack the internal solder joints. The sensor starts sending random voltage signals to the ECM, and your truck responds by dumping fuel to be safe. Engine safe? No. Your wallet safe? Absolutely not. This next part is what destroys engines completely. Remember the diluted oil? Let me tell you about a 2017 Silverado that came into my bay last month. Owner complained of 10 mpg, no lights, no noises. I pulled the oil dipstick. It smelled like a gas station floor. I drained the oil. 6 quarts of black liquid came out, plus 2 quarts of raw gasoline. That engine had been running on a mixture of 5W30 and premium unleaded for 3,000 miles. The rod bearings were scored. The cylinder walls were glazed. That truck needed a short block. 7,400. The owner almost cried. He said, "I just thought gas was expensive." And this is where most owners get trapped. They blame the economy. They blame the gas station. They never look at an $85 sensor. So how do you know if your truck is a ticking time bomb right now? 3 warning signs. No tools required. Number 1, your exhaust smells like raw fuel at idle. Walk to the back of the truck while it's running. If it burns your nose, you have a problem. Number 2, your oil level is rising on the dipstick. Not falling, rising. That is gasoline filling your crankcase. Number 3, your fuel trims are pegged at plus 25% or higher. You need a scanner for this, but if your long-term fuel trim is maxed out, your computer is fighting a losing battle. If you have any of these signs, do not drive the truck, because the death rattle is coming. One more hidden cost nobody talks about. When that fuel pressure sensor fails, it overworks the high-pressure fuel pump. That pump is driven off the camshaft lobe. A failing sensor makes the pump run at 100% duty cycle constantly. The pump gets hot. The cam lobe gets worn down. Now you need a camshaft. Now you need a high-pressure fuel pump. That is a $3,500 job on a 5.3 liter. And almost nobody catches this in time because the sensor is cheap, but the damage happens slowly over 10,000 miles. This is the $8,000 mistake. You ignore an $85 part. You pay for a fuel pump, camshaft, lifters, oil change, catalytic converter, and towing. Suddenly your Silverado costs more to fix than it's worth. Now, I know what you're thinking. I have a newer Silverado, a 2021 or 2022. This doesn't apply to me. Wrong. The 2019 to 2022 refresh trucks with the 5.3 and 6.2 use a different sensor. Part number 116722236. Same failure mode, different connector. And here is the kicker. The newer trucks have even tighter fuel trim tolerances. When the sensor drifts, the ECM triggers a false, rich condition and starts pulling timing. Now you have bad fuel economy and reduced horsepower. Your $60,000 truck drives like a 4-cylinder Colorado. And the dealership will tell you, it's normal. It is not normal. Before you buy any parts, do this. Open your hood. Look at the driver's side fuel rail, right next to the high-pressure pump. You will see a small sensor with 3 wires, black, gray, and a colored stripe. Look closely at the connector. Is there green crust? Corrosion? That is moisture intrusion. GM had a bad batch of connectors from 2016 to 2019. Moisture gets in, wicks up the wires, and destroys the sensor from the inside. You can clean it with electrical contact cleaner, but the damage is already done. Once corrosion starts, the sensor is a countdown timer. Replace it. Do not clean it. Replace it. And this is where most owners get trapped again. They buy a $25 sensor from Amazon, a no-name brand. That sensor fails in 3 months. Now you're back to 12 mpg. Buy OEM. Buy AC Delco. Buy Delphi. Do not buy the cheap one. Look, I make these videos because I got tired of seeing guys spend their vacation money on preventable repairs. If you want to avoid costly mistakes like this, stick around. I have a video coming next week about the exact torque sequence for the Silverado intake manifold. Because guess what? A loose intake manifold causes the exact same fuel trim problems. And another video about why your transmission is shifting hard at 70,000 miles. But right now, let me finish saving you $8,000. If you want to fix this yourself, here is the safe way. You need a 22mm deep socket, a ratchet, and a new sensor. Step 1, relieve fuel pressure. Pull the fuel pump fuse. Run the truck until it dies. Otherwise, you get 2,000 psi of gasoline in your face. Not a good day. Step 2. Unplug the electrical connector. Press the tab. Do not pull the wires. Step 3. Remove the old sensor. It will be tight. Use a 6-point socket so you don't round it off. Step 4. Lightly oil the new sensor threads. Do not use Teflon tape. The sensor grounds through the threads. Step 5. Torque to 18 foot-pounds. Do not guess. Too tight, you crack the fuel rail. Too loose, you leak fuel on a hot engine. Step 6. Reconnect everything. Prime the fuel pump 3 times. Check for leaks. If you see a single drop of fuel, stop. Tighten carefully. After you replace the sensor, clear the check engine light if you have one. Start the truck. Watch the fuel trims. They should drop from plus 25% down to negative 5% to plus 5% within 30 seconds. Drive the truck for 10 miles. Your instant fuel economy reading should jump back up by at least 4 to 5 mpg. If it doesn't, you have a second problem, usually a stuck purge valve or a leaking fuel injector. But 80% of the time, the sensor was the killer. And now you just saved yourself from the death rattle. Let me ask you something. How much is your truck worth to you right now? A 2018 Silverado LT with 120,000 miles is about $22,000 on a good day. If you melt the catalytic converter and spin a rod bearing, that truck is worth $6,000 as a mechanic's special. You just lost $16,000 in value, not because you crashed it, not because you neglected oil changes, because an $85 sensor failed, and you didn't know. That is the part that makes me angry as a mechanic. The industry hides this. Here is your bottom line. If your Chevy Silverado 1500 is burning more fuel, stop blaming the weather. Stop buying fuel injector cleaner. Stop trusting the dealership when they say, no codes found. Check the fuel pressure sensor. Test the live data. Or pay $8,000 for a new engine. Those are your only 2 paths. Ignore this, and you will pay for it. Simple. I'm your name. Drive smart. Fix it before it breaks. I'll see you in the next video.